Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, our next presentation will be connected to us virtually live, and it's all about the regulatory, data, and technology challenges faced by the institutions as they adhere to the pace of change and increased scrutiny, transformative approaches and smarter crime detection techniques, and of course, how to harness cognitive capabilities of AI and robotics to increase accuracy, productivity, and outcomes. Ladies and gentlemen, this presentation is titled as Automation and the Art of Financial Crime Compliance. This is a presentation by our global financial crime expert, Liviu Chirita, partner financial crime practice at PwC Czech Republic. So my team, if you can update me if our worthy speaker is connected, and we'll be taking this live. Hello, Mr. Chirita, can you hear us?
Perfect. Thank you everyone for having me. It's good to be back in Karachi, even if remotely only. I know you already had lunch, but for those of you who haven't, I strongly recommend the Pakistani restaurant at Mezzanine. The Lebanese was second in my list of preferences. And for those of you who are accommodated at Karachi, room 934 is the best room in the hotel. The reason I'm saying this is because I spent time with colleagues and friends and clients for several years. And I have very good memories of Karachi. So it's good. It was great to see some of the friends and clients in the recent panels. And I'm going to use this opportunity to say, everyone, I hope you're all safe and you're dealing with this unprecedented times. Thank you again for having me. I'm going to talk about several aspects of financial crime technology and analytics. I'm going to make a short introduction and give you an update on the trends and tendencies that we see in the marketplace from global engagements. The financial crime compliance and the role of technology and data, a lot has been said before me, so I'm not going to repeat those. Just going to give you a few highlights on the use of technology in places that you may not have thought about to fight financial crime. And then the advanced analytics and the AI for achieving process excellence in financial crime operations. I was thrilled to hear that one of the concerns is the rising cost of compliance and what are those drivers. And I think it would be a good opportunity to discuss about some of them and the application of AI. Before we start, the observations that you will that I will present further are from engagements that we had with clients across EMEA, APAC in the US. One special category of clients for us are the regulators, such as central banks and financial supervision authorities, and sometimes the AML supervision is within an FSA. Sometimes it's within a central bank, and we oftentimes provide technical assistance to these supervisors in terms of implementing risk-based supervision and enhancing their national risk assessments. Some of the things that are of public domain and some of the national risk assessment methodologies that we created for some of the countries that have been already mentioned, like the Baltics and the Nordics, are again of public domain, and you can go look for that. And there's some really good lessons learned from engaging with these regulators. In terms of financial services industries, we're looking at banks and private equity firms and acquisitions around the world that they're making, insurance and insurers, and of course the technology providers. And actually, I'm going to touch later on the role of technology companies in fighting financial crime. Again, a lot has been said before me, so I'm not gonna repeat. I'm sure that you have seen and you're very, very well aware of the rising cost of compliance, and you still hear me? Okay, perfect. The ineffective systems, and sometimes we come across systems that generate as high as 99% false positives, and there's some thought leadership that we produced out there. The increased regulatory enforcement. This is not new for anyone. We've seen billions of dollars having been spent on regulatory matters. It would be great if you can just put on mute the microphone, because it's a bit disturbing. Thank you. And of course, we look at business transformation projects as an opportunity to enhance compliance functions. So these are some of the critical drivers for change. Some of our observations from global engagements are mentioned earlier. Excuse me, is there an opportunity to put the microphone on mute? Thank you. We see a lot of let's say effort put into enhancing the supervision units. We see regulators adopting the supervision technology, and a lot of these regulators also aiming to enhance their examinations by adopting new technical products to assess transaction monitoring systems and sanctions compliance. Just recently, we have been approached by a central bank that wants to adopt two new products, one on sanctions testing and the other one on transaction monitoring effectiveness assessment. And this is really encouraging to see regulators trying to take a leap of faith, if you will, in terms of changing the way that they do examinations, but also encouraging the use of emerging technologies. The other things that have been mentioned again, and I'll touch on some of this in the following slides, is the use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. I have some of my colleagues that say that if it is in Python or R, that's called machine learning. If it is on a PowerPoint, that's called artificial intelligence. Whatever we want to call it, there is a clear tendency to use new technologies to enhance the fight against financial crime. We also see an increased aim to combine risk and threat within a broader financial crime spectrum. Most of the requests that we get nowadays are around the state of compliance, but the broader compliance, looking at internal control systems, tax compliance, markets compliance, on top of the classical money laundering, anti-money laundering, and financial sanctions and embargoes and compliance. So there's definitely, and of course, fraud and anti-bribery, anti-corruption. So there is an increased attention into bringing all these crime domains together. Last but not least, process excellence in financial crime operations. We see a lot of spending being made on the basis of ineffective systems and frankly speaking, sometimes ineffective teams. And given the pressure that most of the financial institutions are facing nowadays, there's an increased attention in terms of reducing those costs, but not moving from an enhanced risk coverage. So essentially achieving that right balance between efficiency and effectiveness is on the top of the agenda of our clients. The evergreen correspondent banking and of course the position of financial institutions in relation to financial crime technologies has also gained a lot of traction recently. I mentioned the role of technology in financial crime compliance. There's really three categories of players that can harness the sort of the use of technology in fighting financial crime. I mentioned the regulators. This is extremely important. So seeing a regulator that wants to sort of combine the fight against financial crime and to look at the abuse of, for example, of banking system for money laundering purposes, and combining those capabilities with the financial intelligence unit, this is really encouraging to see. And then we see some of those some of the central banks and financial intelligence units really taking a step forward and combining their capabilities and really taking technical assistance to engage with technology companies and buy platforms and customize them for fighting a central, let's say, macro in a macro the macro level money laundering and financial crime. So this is extremely encouraging. I mentioned the use of bespoke products to test transaction monitoring systems and sanctions. I heard some of these distinguished guests earlier saying that the age of assurance has passed. Actually, we're seeing an enhanced assurance, so that comes close to or together with model validation and really provides that to the sort of the regulators really looking to enhancing their capabilities and the ability to test transaction monitoring systems and sanction screening, sanctions filters. We see financial institutions really building on the fourth line of defense, that relationship with regulators, and trying to explain the challenges and really getting that guidance and then sort of building that bridge between their fight against financial crime and what the regulators are saying. We see the product-enabled compliance, where financial institutions really adopt new products and technologies and put them on their existing technology landscape to enhance the fight against financial crime. I can think of a case where basically one of our clients wanted to replace their transaction monitoring system, but essentially we determined that the need was actually into bringing a component of machine learning on top of their transaction monitoring system. So instead of spending by replacing a TM system, they adopted new bespoke products, augmenting their existing capabilities and achieving better coverage and achieving reduced noise and optimal systems. The technology companies really have a role. I can think of several marketplaces of large players like Microsoft and Actimize and others that look after point solutions and really try to bring them in their marketplace and combining them with their existing capabilities and really trying to create these new innovative systems that I'm gonna touch in the next slide. Last but not least, the private-public partnership. This is extremely important. I have spent a number of years with NGOs fighting financial crimes. In my capacity in those NGOs, I've always valued the private-public partnership. Just recently have closed a piece of work to set the foundation for an integrated platform of exchange of information for money mules, and we see a lot of those a lot of the markets really trying to push their agenda into creating these unified platforms for data sharing and data intelligence to fight financial crime. So this is really encouraging. So the role of technology is really across these four category of players in the marketplace. My last topic is around the use of AI and advanced analytics for achieving process excellence. Again, a lot has been said, but really just want to re-emphasize the sort of the role of achieving process excellence and why it is so challenged. There's always internal resistance. We've seen a number of financial crime compliance functions where there's subunits within these functions that have different agendas. There's always the sort of the comparisons of the first and the second line costs also vary widely. We've heard a lot of MI and reporting, and there's really no unified view in terms of how much is being spent in financial crime compliance. So these are some of the elements that really prevent financial institutions for achieving process excellence. But if you get it right, and there's a lot of ways on how to do that, if you get it right, you start to build more sustainable operations. You get your place in front of as a business enabler rather than a cost center in front of the board. You really are able to achieve strong coverage. Obviously the improved customer experience. So you don't want to have transaction monitoring systems that are firing alerts on genuine transactions. You don't want to have sanctions filters that are stopping transactions or referring for manual reviews, genuine clients, and so on and so forth. So really, there's an opportunity out there. And last but not least, understanding the real cost of compliance. Again, really position the existing compliance functions in they create a new position in front of the board and the P&L leaders. So these are the benefits if you get it right. And how to use AI and advanced analytics. Just going to pick some of the recent developments, like in sanctions, the use of blockchain for watch list management. We have various partnerships with technology providers, and we see a lot of development in that space. Try the testing and the use of NLP. We've seen developments such as no-name screening and biometrics and face identification for sanction screening. We see an increased attention into identifying the emerging risks by using machine learning in terms of let's say running a typology coverage assessment and enhancing those typologies beyond the prescription of the international watchdogs in terms of red flags associated to products. So based on the principle that you don't know what you don't know, there's a lot of effort put into really building those products that will help enhance the typology and the risk coverage. From an onboarding perspective, this is again an evergreen, but we see a lot of the institutions reviewing and revalidating the approach towards customer risk rating to the dynamic models. We see the use of RPA, but again, I can refer to again to one of the distinguished speakers earlier that has mentioned that if you don't get the foundation right, you can have as much artificial intelligence or machine learning as possible, but the only thing that you will achieve is more noise. And we've seen financial institutions that really have not had let's say a data lineage and the data quality exercise performed, and they haven't created that foundation, but they were running 5 or 6 POCs with advanced technologies for dealing with their financial crime compliance. This is absolutely the wrong way of looking at it. There's new technologies out there, but they have to come on a solid foundation to be able to help you to fight financial crime. I've heard also a lot about Pakistanis' readiness to adopt new technologies. I think there's a lot of progress has been made. I can refer to several years back when we used to come very often to Karachi, and I can tell you that much, that a lot of progress has been made. A lot of our clients have done a great, let's say, progress in terms of really resolving that fundamental problem of building that sustainable platform on which you can deploy components that will help you to better and effectively fight financial crime. Thank you very much again. Hopefully I didn't take too much of your time. Happy to take any of your questions. And believe it or not, I really, really look forward to coming back to Karachi.
Thank you, Mr. Chirita. We may have time enough for just one question. Is there a question I can... Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chirita, for joining us and for this very comprehensive presentation. Thank you. We were delighted to have you.
My pleasure. Take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.